Carve out a grid from a layer or a group to give your favorite clipping mask a trendy touch. I'm beginning here in expert mode of Photoshop Elements, but the instructions are exactly the same for Adobe Photoshop, except where noted. Begin by opening the layered document from the download. In the Layers panel, if I click on the arrow of this group to open it, you can see that there are 6 masks in this group. These masks are all black to give you the best visual, but the color of the masks within the group does not matter for this tutorial. Also, any of the individual layers in the group can be activated and then moved around on the document by using the Move tool. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the mask the way it was because that's not what this tutorial is about. Instead, let me show you how to carve out a trendy grid from this clipping mask group. First, we're going to need the rulers. So in the menu bar, choose View and place a check mark next to Rulers. And then we're going to need a little bit of space around the document. So press Ctrl-0, that's Command-0 on a Mac, to fit your document to the viewing area. And then press Ctrl-, that's Command- on a Mac, one time to zoom out. Get the brush tool, and then in the tool options, open the brush picker, then open the drop-down menu and choose Default Brushes. Choose one of the hard round brushes. If you're using Photoshop, you'll find the hard round brush in the General Brushes. Back in the tool options, set the size of this brush to 12 pixels. Keep the opacity set at 100% and the mode should be normal. If you're using Photoshop, you'll also need to set the flow to 100%. Next, here in Photoshop Elements, click on Brush Settings. The fade, hue, jitter, and scatter need to be 0, and the spacing should be set to 25%. If you're using Photoshop, see the manual for instructions on setting the spacing of your brush. I'll go ahead and close the tool options. And now that we have the brush in the Layers panel, click on the Clipping Mask group to make sure that it's active, and you'll want to close it just to reduce clutter. Now click on the Add Layer Mask icon. Nothing should have changed on your document because the layer mask is filled with white, and in Layer Mask lingo, white reveals. So everything on the document is still revealed at this point. Now we need black to be the foreground color chip. So if it's not, press the letter X. Now in the viewing area of your application window, hover your cursor near the 1 in the vertical ruler. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to be exact on the ruler. Just get close and it'll be just fine. Now hold down your mouse and then hold down the Shift key and click and drag all the way to the right edge of the document. I'm going to let go over here in the gray area of my mouse, and then I'm going to let go of the Shift key. And just so you know, if you make a mistake at any time during this process, you can step backwards by pressing Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on a Mac. Okay, let's place another line on the mask. Hover your cursor near the 3-inch mark on the vertical ruler, then click to hold down the mouse, then hold down the Shift key, and click and drag to the right side of the document. I'll let go over here in the gray area, and now you can see on the layer mask, there are 2 lines. I'm going to do that again over here at the 5-inch mark. Press down on my mouse, hold down the Shift key, drag across to the right side, let go of my mouse, let go of the Shift key. Now there are 3 lines. Let's do it at the 7-inch mark. Again at the 9-inch mark. And one last time at the 11-inch mark. Now I have evenly spaced horizontal lines in my layer mask. Now let's do the vertical lines. On the document, hover your cursor near the 1-inch mark on the horizontal ruler. I'll click in this gray area, then hold down the Shift key and click and drag to the bottom of the document. I'll let go of my mouse down in the gray area and then let go of the Shift key. I'll do that again at the 3-inch mark of the horizontal ruler, at the 5-inch mark, the 7-inch mark, the 9-inch mark, and the 11-inch mark. Again, don't drive yourself crazy making sure this is perfect. You're just trying to get the look of a grid within the mask. And I should mention, as you look at the layer mask over here in the layers panel, it may look like there are lines missing from your grid. That is totally normal. It's just part of your computer not displaying the thumbnails correctly. Okay, now that the grid is in place, let's add a photo and see how it looks. The clipping mask group should be active. Open a photo of your choice. I already have one open. Get the Move tool. Holding down the Shift key, click and drag the photo onto the document. In the menu bar, choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask. To resize your image, click and drag on the corner handles of the bounding box, but you'll need to make sure that the boundaries of the image stay outside the boundaries of the clipping mask. Just to be safe on this document, I'm going to make sure that my image is no smaller than the actual size of the entire document. To reposition your image, you can click and drag inside the bounding box. If you transformed your image, you'll then need to click the check mark to commit the change. Now, it's likely that the layer mask grid would look better on your scrapbook page if it's resized and possibly moved. So here's a trick for doing that. Right now, the layer mask is linked to the group, and you can tell that because here in Elements, there's an orange link icon. So if I were to activate this group, and then using the Move tool, click and drag on the document, the group and the grid is going to move as one unit. I'll undo that because what I want is to move the grid without moving the group. So in the Layers panel, click on the link icon between the group thumbnail and the layer mask thumbnail. When I click on it, it turns off and disappears. Now with those two thumbnails unlinked, if I click on the layer mask thumbnail to make it active, and I know it's active because it has that border around it. Now when I click and drag on the document, I'm only moving the grid around and not the group. Besides moving the layer mask, you can also resize the layer mask. Get the Move tool, then press Ctrl-T, Command-T on a Mac to get the transform options. And then in the tool options, click and drag, we call that scrubbing, on either the W or the H, which stand for the width and the height. And if I click and drag to the right, the size of that layer mask will change. For my photo and my mask, I'm thinking about 165% looks pretty good. And then I also want the eye in my photo to be in the center of one of those grid lines. So I'll click and drag on the document to reposition the grid so that it's not intersecting with any important parts of the photo. Then I'll click the check mark to commit the change and close the tool options. I should also mention that when you are transforming and repositioning that layer mask, you'll want to make sure that the edges of the layer mask stay outside the boundaries of the photo. Now when you're satisfied in the Layers panel, you'll want to link up those two thumbnails of the clipping mask group again. So all you have to do is click between the two thumbnails where that link icon should be, and it will appear again. And since they're linked up, now when I click and drag on the document, they're going to move as one unit again. A couple things that I wanted to mention before I let you go. Since this layer mask is applied to your clipping mask, if you add a paper below this group, you're going to see the paper through the grid lines. Let me show you what I mean. In the Layers panel, I'll click to activate the background layer, and then I'll open a background paper. This paper is from Happy Birthday by Dawn by Design. With the Move tool, I'm going to click and drag that paper onto the document. And since the paper is below the clipping mask group, through those grid lines, I can see the color and the pattern of the paper. So you'll want to just keep that in mind. Here's what my finished scrapbook page looks like. For a free PDF version of this video, click on the download link and then make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been Jen White from Digital Scrapper, the very best place on the web to find complete and professional instruction for digital scrapbooking. We help you get your stories told.